Kyle. That is Laura. This is He Said, She Said. I don't know why I have such a problem saying that. Laura, how's it going? We took last week off. Did you enjoy your week?
I did. I was playing in New York City, so I did. It was a well-deserved night off.
New York at Christmas time. Could there be many better places in the world? So this is our last one of the 2012 year. We're going to take the rest of the year off and spend it with our families and resume in January. So you have something special lined up for us tonight. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take away with it.
Well, I just thought that you and I might kind of share what we think are our greatest learnings or some of our most profound pieces of wisdom, so to speak. You know, a year is a long time, and so I love this time of the year. I think that the last couple of weeks before we leave one year and enter another is such a good time to really think about what we've learned, what we can leave behind, you know, the stuff we do not want to bring with us into the new year. And since I've been doing a lot of reflecting on that, I thought you and I could maybe share a little bit of that. One of the things that I reflected on was, you know, as I look back, and, you know, it started with looking back over this year, but, you know, I've kind of taken a moment to look back over the time since I did get divorced, since my divorce was final, which was a number of years ago. Um, One of the things I thought about is what seems big at the time grows smaller over the course of time. And I noticed that for this year, but I also have significantly noticed that over these years. You know, the kids grow up, and the things that once seemed so incredibly big now don't seem so much, don't seem so big. Do you feel that ever?
Well, if we're talking in the context of a divorce itself, and a divorce as in dealing with an ex and dealing with the kids, and especially as we move into the holidays and the whole single parent holiday, you know, train wreck that it can sometimes be, and, you know, emotionally draining, and especially if this is your first one. All
Mm,
right. So I certainly think that as we move along, our priorities change. I don't know if I think in some cases they're still big deals. We just don't make them big deals anymore because other things become big deals instead.
right.
Right? We can't not make something a big deal. And certainly in 7 years, and it will be 8 years in February, the things that really set me off then don't do that now. And I think that's human nature for the most part. I clearly think, though, that as someone who has to migrate through this landmine of divorce, at least for the next 10 years, that's reassuring, right?
Yeah.
It's reassuring that things will continue to get better over time.
We sometimes can take for granted um, the difference a year makes, right? That time, just that evolution. I see it in my kids. I see it in myself, and allowing that to happen. You know, allowing that process to happen and not resisting it and fighting to stay where you know where I was then, and allowing myself to move forward, giving myself permission to do that. It's hard to do that when you're reinventing your life and, you know, starting, as so many feel, from scratch. But it's important, I think, to give permission to yourself to let go. And this is no better time than right now to do that.
Well, we're moving into 2013, and you know, you have the ubiquitous New Year's resolutions. I
Oh,
don't make New Year's
that word.
resolutions. You know, if you've got to wait to the beginning of a calendar year to make a resolution, you might want to reconsider. However, it certainly gives us an opportunity to, as you said earlier, I think reflect on some things that maybe, as you said, aren't shouldn't be a big deal, and then reflect on some things that maybe should be a big deal, right?
Yep.
You know, especially for those that maybe this is your first you're completing your first year of a divorce, right? So you're moving into the holidays for the first time as a single parent or a divorced parent, and you've probably made some decisions along this first year path that you kind of regret now. I think this gives you an opportunity to maybe reflect back on some of those things and reprioritize possibly where you might have got off the reservation and maybe get back on it. The holidays, I think, always provide that. Bearing in mind that it will, for those that are divorced for the first time, the holidays will also be very challenging.
Yeah, it is, and it continues to be that. There's so much wrapped up in the whole holiday thing, that it can be a challenging time. But I do think the reflection helps. I actually just wrote a post today I posted it to Your Tango online, and it talked about, I was talking about, like, have you been naughty or nice?
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about how seductive naughty can be.
Uh-huh.
As you're talking about looking back and really those things that we might regret, those things that you might have done or said, that, after the fact weren't as great a thrill as they seemed like in the moment. Being naughty is a very enticing and seductive thing. And I know for me, it's a constant yearly commitment. I hate the word resolution. I just hate it. I don't know. It's just a yearly commitment to try to decline as many invitations from naughty as I can.
Decline naughty invitations.
Naughty invitations. Invitations. Naughty is very tricky, and it's easy. It's easy in life after divorce. There's lots and lots of little naughty invitations that
I call them shiny objects.
Yeah, they're
vying for our attention.
These ones are naughty.
They're naughty. They're shiny, naughty objects. Is that
they're
what you're
shiny,
saying?
naughty objects.
The sun sets on another year, right? Can you quantify in one idea something that's really stuck with you this year? Something that really had an impression on you? It really maybe changed your perspective on things. Change the way that you look at things as, someone who's continually trying to reinvent themselves, right? You're trying to, always improve. What have you learned this year?
This year it really hit me. And of course I'm 8 years out. So, for those who listen and it's, year one or year two, and it feels really heavy, and it feels like it's difficult to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I get that, but I guess what's really clear to me now is that and it's going to sound really cliche, but the happier I am in my life, the more things I do, the more things that I engage in, the people I engage with that actually just make me happy, just make me smile, even if it's just being in their company, the farther away from my divorce I get. And it's so easy to stay there. It's so easy to stay in the divorce thing, the post-divorce thing. And it's hard to focus on, when you're feeling that way, it's hard to focus on what does actually make you happy. I see it all the time in people. They just, they can't get there. But the truth is, every tiny little thing you do that, even for a moment, for a weekend, for a night, for whatever it is, if it makes you happy, you're moving one step further away from that divorce story. And I'm feeling that so profoundly this year.
What would you say to anyone who's listening who kind of feels that they can't move beyond it? I mean, Have you really spent a lot of time reading, or are you engaged with other individuals in some sort of mentoring relationship? What are you doing, or is it just simply time?
I think there's an element of time. I definitely think time does, time heals all wounds, no, but time does make a difference. But I will dabble in everything. I dabble in it all. I read, I'll buy, I find books will that make me feel good, that reading them just make me feel good. I really try to decide when I'm doing something, what is it that I want to do today that I enjoy? And I'll do all of it. I'll take walks outside. I'll go to the gym. I'll hang out with friends. I'll go out to a bar. I'll do all of it. And I just, I don't, I don't stop doing it. I keep trying. And if something doesn't feel good, guess what? I don't do it again. I don't. And I decline lots of invitations to things because for whatever reason, I just know it's not going to make me feel good. Whether those are parties or get togethers or PTA meetings or any of these things that are going to, I don't know, make me feel out of my element, I don't do them. And you know what? The more times I say no and opt out of those kinds of things, there's just much more room to do other stuff that I enjoy. And before you know it, the focus is no longer on him or her and what was, and it's more on, yeah, I'm doing that today. Yes, I'm doing that this weekend. Yes, the kids and I are going to do X, Y, or Z. And you know what? It's been slowly happening over time, but this year it just kind of came together. And I hope that does give hope to people who are in 1, 2, or 3 years. It does take some time, but it also takes intentional effort.
So, as I was sitting here listening to you, and I was kind of thinking back over the last year, I guess I would have to summarize my outlook this way: the importance of keeping the main thing, the main thing. Here's what I mean by that. I think that during our conversations this year, Laura, you probably know that I'm a big believer in certain priorities in life.
Hmm.
I think that, I have priorities that the way that I approach life, and those priorities are the focus of it. In other words, I don't let my priorities, you know, move ahead of something else.
Right.
In doing that, I believe that my relationships have become stronger with the Queen, with my kids,
Hmm.
with my work, because I just am relentless about not sacrificing one for the sake of the other.
Hmm.
It's been a hard road, and I don't want to sit here and claim that I've gotten it nailed down, but that was a lesson that I did not know several years
Hmm.
ago. I kind of live by the cultural mantra of, for most men, works first and everything else falls where it may. And moving beyond that and trying to understand and really apply the principle that at the end of the day, it's a job, right? My relationships cannot take second place to that. And that's bode well for me, right? Because clearly, if I look back over what got me to this point of being a single dad, it was partly having those priorities out of whack. All right. I think that if you take a look at any divorce situation, no matter how it started or who filed for it, somewhere along the way, the priorities got out of whack. And that's, to your point, I'll paraphrase, that takes intention. If you are going to
Hmm.
keep the main thing, you have got to be intentional about it. If you approach it from a willy nilly, just, yeah, whatever happens, happens mentality, it'll never work. because there will always be something vying for your attention that is far less important than other things that need it. And then
Right.
they end up continuing to get pushed. First they're second, and then they run to fourth, and the next thing you know, they're not even in the top 10. And
Right.
then that's when problems happen. So, you know, it's one of the principles that I do my best to live by. I think it's something that served me well. I think that it's helped me and the Queen have a phenomenal relationship. My kids and I have one of the better relationships than probably most married fathers do to their children.
Yeah.
And I give a huge amount of credit to the fact that I've been able to keep those main things, and not let those shiny objects vie for my
I
attention.
could not agree more. And it is hard. There are naughty little shiny objects out there that want us to go. And I agree completely with you. I think it's fantastic. I feel very similarly to you. So, do we have any parting words as we leave this year and enter the next one?
Well, this is probably our 17th, maybe 16th or 17th episode, right? And, clearly Oprah has not come calling asking us to be on any sort of Oprah show. But I can tell you that I've enjoyed doing this with you, Laura. I
Yeah.
think it's fun. I always look forward to when we record these, and I hope that we'll be able to continue them in the future. I have every intention of doing so, and I hope you do too.
Yes,
I wish you and your family the happiest of holidays, and we will talk again in 2013.
absolutely. I feel the same. You too. Best wishes, and to everyone out there, leave it all, leave all the shit that no longer serves you behind, and enter 2013 with fresh intentions and a fresh eye, and all the optimism and hope in the world.
Tomorrow's a new day. 2013's a new year. Have a great one.
Yes.
We'll see you in January. Bye, Laura.